Hey, hey, welcome out, everybody. Welcome to the tezos-artcast, late afternoon edition or afternoon edition. For me here, anyway, in the Pacific time zone. I hope everybody's doing good. This is the tezos-artcast, where we explore art, music, and culture being built up around the Tezos blockchain and being backed up by the Tezos blockchain. So I'm excited to be here today, and it's kind of nice to mix it up a little bit and have a different time frame. Get started a little later in the day for myself, but still keeping my trusty coffee on hand. I hope everybody's been good. Esperanza's in the background over here. I always the camera gets flipped, so but she's looking good. I got my setup is hopefully going to start coming together a little bit more in regards to audio and visual. I reluctantly reinstalled Windows on my main laptop or my main desktop here. Since most of what I'm doing in here is streaming, it seems only appropriate that I just use the tools that will work out of the box and not have to configure everything, because I got enough projects going on and I use Linux 99% of the time now for all my other stuff, and I don't have any problem with that. So it's just with video and audio, and I'm sure I can find a way to do it. But with work and everything else, this is just going to be easier for me, and I'm okay with that. So I can use a camera that I've had for a while that's been in use for the stream on and off. I can use this microphone, and I have a stream deck that I can put stuff like this on. I hope that comes through. I can do my soundboard. I've been wanting to do a soundboard forever, so now I can do it. Anyway, really excited to be here, and hello to anybody and everybody out there. Glad to have you with us. Yeah, so we've got a very special guest today. I'm really excited. It's also why we're starting a little later. We get to interview people from all around the world, so time zones are always different. This person actually lives in the future, so as far as I'm concerned. So it's not even Wednesday for this individual. So yeah, so I'm super stoked to welcome this person on. So let's not stop dilly-dallying, and I'm going to use one of these fancy video clips that I've got prepared as we get to know Chunky Isla. Am I saying that right?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Oh, your cat is gorgeous.
Oh man, she is something else. That's Esperanza. She's
Hello,
she was our outdoor cat for about 6 or 7 years. She lived outside, and her fur was all dreaded up, and finally she was getting kind of old and missing some teeth. And one of our neighbors actually got a professional cat catcher to catch her because she was super spicy and did not want to have anything to do with people unless we were petting her or feeding her. Other than that, she was wild.
No.
And once she got taken to the vet, got shaved. They did some dental work on her, and then she was missing a bunch of teeth, so we took her in. And yeah, now she's semi-domesticated. She's still a little wild, but she's real pretty. And I see you love cats. I'm looking forward to getting into that a little bit later. So yeah, can you just give us a quick a little like who you are and where you're at?
Yes. Well, I go by Chunky Isla in this specific NFT world. I've been working in Hong Kong for probably 6 to 7 years now, and I'm a Senegalese. I grew up in Senegal, and I graduated in France, and then I tried to find a job, but I didn't wanted to go to France for that specific job because I'm not the biggest fan of France. So I
Okay.
first went to Montreal to look for something, and it didn't really work out. And then I had a friend in Hong Kong, which is in the Tezos universe as well. He made the Octis. I don't know if you heard about this project, but yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah, we have actually I think it was just added to the Artcast drop calendar. It's the octopus, right?
yes, correct.
Yes, those look really cool.
Yeah, he's a dear friend of mine, and at first we were roommates, and then we went our separate way when I was comfortable enough to live on my own. And yeah, that's my story. I've also been digitally drawing for about a decade now, I guess.
Okay, when did you before digital drawing? Did you grow up uh, in Senegal? Were you always like an artist, like drawing on everything? Did you have other passions as well? Like, what was it like growing up up out there and being a creative mind?
Hmm. I mean, at the time, I was not good at art, to be honest. I really liked to draw, and I used to draw everywhere, but it just wasn't good, if it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, yeah, growing up in Senegal, it was, mm, I don't really know how to compare because I don't really have another standard, I guess.
sure,
It, it, it was just what it is. It is like we have a lot of very nice people and we have a lot of less nice people, and you kind of grow up in the middle of two, so you kind of get a little bit of both, and then you need to a little bit grow out of it as you grow up and become an adult, I guess.
sure,
There's some part that is a little bit rough around the edges, I guess.
right. But where did you like in school and stuff? Did you go to France in particular to study art? Was that kind of your goal, or was it something else? And art started to kind of creep in as a more of something to do
um
professionally.
no, art isn't my main job, so I started doing art seriously when I was around, I guess, 21 years old. And at the time I was already studying for software engineering,
Okay.
and I guess at the time it was just something I really wanted to do because I was kind of looking for an outlet to like let my emotions out, I guess, or just try things that because I stopped drawing for a while, and then I actually bought a tablet. Like I bought a bamboo tablet before I even
Yeah.
started to draw again, and I opened it. I tried once, and then I remember I just left it for like 2 or 3 months without touching it.
Yeah.
Like there was just one drawing made out of, of that, and that was it. And at some point, I was like, "Oh, I gotta get back to that." And then I
Right.
started to seriously draw.
Yeah, those bamboo tablets are pretty cool. Do you still have the same tablet?
No, it was really old, so it was becoming a little bit gray because of all the doodling I did on that. So I think I ended up giving it away for free to someone who was interested in just having a tablet and just trying it out. Like I did emphasize on the fact that it was a pretty old tablet, but they were like, yeah, whatever, just send it over.
Right, right.
And yeah,
Yeah,
I've,
and I got to use a tablet. I have a tablet that I don't use, but it's definitely, it seems like a little bit of a learning process switching from kind of doodling on paper to digital art. Um,
yes, definitely. Because I mean, for mine, I don't have a screen on the tablet, so I'm always looking up. So at the beginning, it was really jarring because it's a very plastic feel compared to paper, and also you have to learn to or unlearn. I don't know which one would really fit, but you need to kind of have your neck up and draw while having your neck up, which is different, I guess.
yeah, for sure. So you are so you got this tablet and eventually came back to it. and you were doing software engineering stuff. Is that kind of what your background is and what you're doing professionally? Then you said,
Yes,
okay.
I well, right now it's a simpler role, I guess. I'm a front end developer for like a security company,
Hmm.
so just mostly working around websites and from time to time browser extensions. And in my free time, I just like to draw and play video games, but mostly draw these days, I guess. Help me
Yeah,
unwind.
nice. Yeah, because I mean, I wouldn't think by your illustrations and by your work, I would assume you were born into it. The way these things come out, I'll tell you what.
Thank you. Well, it wasn't like that at all. Like I started really late, and I think the first time that I was uploading picture on at the time it was DeviantArt. Like people were really honest about my art. They were like, "It's not good, but I can see you have potential."
Right.
And I had really supportive friend at the beginning, so I guess that's what helped me. Like really, I wouldn't say grind, but at the time I would be probably spending between 6 and 7 hours a day on art,
Yeah.
even though I still had like the other things to work on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a lot of time to spend on anything, let alone something that's not your day job. So
Yeah.
that's definitely some dedication.
It did get less and less as time goes on, obviously, because that
Mhm.
would not be sustainable. But at the beginning, I was really passionate about it and not that good. So I guess I was trying to catch up with my peers, if it makes sense. But yeah, that was yeah, I was not born into it, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, and I like hearing that because it's, especially, with this type of kind of show, I'm interviewing so many people, and there's so many people who are, like, just they're born talented, it seems like, and, you know, a paintbrush in their hand from birth, and they'll die
Right.
with a paintbrush in their hand, and, you know, it just comes naturally, and so I love to meet people who pick things up later in life too, because it can be an encouragement for people who are picking things up later in life, whether it's software development, or art or writing. Um, so, can you tell me a little bit about like some of those early days when you were you know, practicing really hard? Like, what was keeping you going, and what made you want to get better at it? Um,
I guess at the time I was really ambitious about what I wanted to draw.
mhm.
So you know you always have those ideas in your brain that absolutely look perfect, but when you put it down, it kind of look like a Microsoft Paint version of it, and you're just like, that's not really what I wanted to do.
Right, you
And
got all these inspirations out there, you're just like you have these things you wanna emulate, right?
yes, and I guess at the time I was a big fan of a specific game, and there was this thing back then where you create your own characters and you think about stories and what they would do and all that stuff. And I guess I really wanted to do that with the things that I was creating. And on hindsight, those stories were terrible. But you know, when you are a young adult or a teenager, you're really passionate about this, even though it's like every single cliche you have
Right.
thought about. Yeah. And I guess that's what kept me going. I was just like, I really want to have those illustrations of those specific things that I have in my mind, and slowly but surely someday I'm gonna be able to do that. And I guess that was the first motivation.
And what were some of those early influences that you kind of looked to that were, like, inspiring you to get going? Like, the game you mentioned, I don't know if there were some cartoons or comic books or anything like that that got you really excited?
I would say, well, I started with the game name was this Gaia, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, and it had a lot of demons in it, which is really weird for me. Like, I was like, I come from a Christian kind of Catholic kind of upbringing,
Yeah.
but I kind of fell out of it, and then I was playing this game which is all about demons and monsters and
Right,
whatnot.
right.
I really like that because the way they would personify those individual would just be like they're not specifically mean, they just like that's just their upbringing, and it was kind of relatable in a way for me.
Right. Right. There's there's a that mystery and that spiritual element, um but it's been shadowed by something or by experience or the world, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I-
guess, well, when it comes to inspiration, like there's a lot of things. Like this was the main element, I guess. Like, but as time goes on, my art style obviously evolved. But I like to see pretty much everything. Like I used to read comic books. I used to read mangas, anime, watch movies, watch TV shows, and like a lot of them have nothing to do to like it would feel like a really weird mash of taste if you look at
right.
them all together. You just like is that really the same person looking at them? And it's like because I would go from liking something really cute on Netflix like Rilakkuma, which is like stop motion with those teddy bears, and then
Okay.
watch something really gory at the next time, or play a
Right,
really
right.
violent game, and then the complete opposite. It's like I like everything, even though it's not really benefiting my art style. There's a lot of things that I would still like to look at and have an impact on me, and then I would just like absorb, try and absorb whatever value was out of it.
Right. Absolutely. Let's see. Let me get this. I think let's see here. Hold on one second. I'm going to share some of this work because I want to talk a little bit about it. One second. Where's my, there it is. Boom, boom. There we go. I've always you could definitely see like this kind of like epic gaming element to these pieces. Um but this is the first piece it looks like you minted on Hicket Nunk. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's the very first one.
So can you tell me a little bit about the good cat, the Dutch?
At first, I wanted to call him the Duke, and for some reason, my brain completed with Dutch. I guess that's a French speaking brain that just made a typo, and I just let it go.
Right.
Um, yeah, I remember seeing a photo of a similar looking cat, and I was like, yeah, I really want to draw it because it looked good. And inside you have his kind of tie slash badge, and inside of it there was a joke from me, like just social distancing jokes are lame, but with my really poor handwriting in it, I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
Nice. I
it was
love
at the
it.
beginning of the pandemic, I guess.
And how did you come across Hicket Nunk and get involved in kind of the NFT world?
Hmm. I guess I was already in crypto for a couple of months now,
Mm-hmm.
and I've I think I stumbled upon the article from Johnny. Uh, I think it was the problem with NFTs actually, where he talked about Nifty, Gateway, and all the Ethereum blockchain and what it's doing and what it's not doing so great at and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess the first thing that I was checking, because it was very viral at the time, and a lot of people were just bashing on the entire NFT slash crypto things. But it had the comment section, and a lot of people were discussing about whether or not it was true for everything and what was the alternative and what kind of choice you could make on your own. And there was people talking about Tezos, and then there was also a follow-up article from the same person about Tezos, and that's when I tried to dig a little bit more about it to know what it was about. And yes, at some point I realized like you can get started with any kind of amount of money, so I just put probably like $10 in my account and I started minting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things about all of this is that it's still very accessible. And one of the things that always appealed to me about the kind of cryptocurrency ideology or kind of the ideas behind it was being able to provide, the ability to manage your own money without a bank and to not have some of the barriers between you and getting a bank account, and some of the barriers between you and, like you said, like minting on Ethereum being very expensive. So that appealed to me as well. I still think it appeals to me as a, if people want to see what the space is all about, being able to have access to it is really nice to be, that people aren't priced out of it.
Yeah, that's the really nice part of it. Because a lot of people on the outside, they would just tell you that this entire thing is a scheme and you're just here to inject some more money so people can just, keep the value of whatever blockchain you are using.
Right.
But with Tezo, it's really easy to say no. I could literally just put $5 if I wanted, or I could go to someone who's handling a fountain and just tell them like, "Hi, I would really like to get started. Can you just give me a helper?" And I guess they still do that these days. I don't know, because like back in the day, it was a thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'm not. I think there is still a couple of fountains going for new artists and stuff on Tia, I think, um, and
yeah, so
and some of the
this is
other
a really
communities.
nice initiative as well, because you can just get started for free and just see it by yourself. And
Yeah, for sure. And what Chunky's talking about, if you're not familiar with fountains, it's basically a small kind of like donation pile where a new artist will come in and say, hey, I just want to mint something, and the fountain, quote unquote fountain, will turn on. Somebody will turn on the fountain and send a tez out to that person so that they can mint, because the minting cost is so low, that one tez you can mint a few times with that amount. So that is really cool. And I've been thinking a lot about the outside perceptions of cryptocurrency and blockchain, and doing a lot of have watched handful of interesting videos with kind of opposite points of view. And one thing that I was thinking about is that, like, if there is if we are inside of kind of this if a bunch of us artists and musicians and stuff happen to find ourselves inside of this bubble of kind of like a pyramid scheme or something, like, it's almost we've almost kind of carved out a separate space from that, where, I mean, I could be totally delusional in this, but it feels like there's two worlds happening in the same space. There's a lot of hype projects. There's a lot of like promises. There's flipping and doing this and that, and whether it's DeFi tokens or whatever. But there's this niche that's carved out where it's like artists spending tes on artists, and small, collectors collecting. And like I feel like if everything else fell away and almost all activity on the blockchain stopped, like there could still be this small community of artists who'd just be like, okay, well, no one's using the chain, but we're using the chain, so let's just keep doing it, and it would just, I don't know. Like I have this idea that it would just persist as like an art chain forever.
I think
But
it's definitely possible for it to survive as a art chain. It would be a far less people because I guess the money aspect can be important to a lot of people. So it would be natural for a lot of them to just be thinking, well, if I'm not gonna get money out of it, it's not really that interesting for me. I guess for
right,
my
and that's,
end,
yeah, that's
yeah,
something I didn't think about. I'm not factoring in really is that there are people that are becoming more dependent on it as a source of income as well. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's quite an impressive part, I guess. I mean, on one hand, it's impressive. On the other, it's like it's a risk, I guess. It's a risk.
Right, right. And I think, I mean, that's kind of, when I tell friends or family about it, I get excited and I'm talking about it and everything. And I'm always kind of quick to remind them or remind myself that it's all experimental, and it is like gambling. When you're dealing with blockchain, it at this point in time, in my opinion, it's gambling. And you know i, I don't want to dump my life savings into it, or it's just not where I'm at. And I encourage people to, like, you know diversify, like if you
Yes,
can, don't put your mortgage on the roulette wheel. Or if
absolutely
you
not.
if you do, know what know that you're gambling. uh,
Yes, yes.
but I think that's why again, I said it earlier, that I just enjoy talking to people like yourself um, that found this, and it's allowed me to kind of find a concentration of artists that I would never have otherwise met, through kind of my normal channels. You get, I think, normal or kind of the mainstream social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and some of the others. You do develop kind of a bubble of friends of friends, or people that through other people, and it can be a little bit stale. And I think Hickett Nunk and kind of getting into this space has broken that for me, where I just kind of, yeah, I've gotten to meet so many great people and see so much amazing art. It's inspirational. So
Yes, I used to have several social media accounts, and I think several times, like in Tumblr or Instagram, there was a moment where I would just get tired of how stale it got and how I felt like nothing was kind of working. So I remember deleting my accounts many times and just starting over later.
yeah, yeah. um.
Yeah, with
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I wanted to say like with Economic, it kind of felt like the big back then when I started with DeviantArt, I guess a lot of people were
Yeah,
saying similar things. But it's true. It just you would have people at the beginning that would just be like, "Oh, I really like your stuff," and you would be like, "Thank you, I really like your stuff too." And then we'll just start chatting and tweeting, retweeting each other, and just be checking on each other from time to time, like, how you doing? Everything's fine. It's like, yeah, yeah. And I kind of miss that now that I think about it, because I used to have like people that were really close to me back in the DeviantArt years,
yeah,
and like some of them I still talk to. Like we just literally exchanges contact, and now it's been like 12 years that we still talk to each other, even though we never saw each other in real life.
yeah.
I
Right.
did see some people in real life like at two occasion, which was kind of great. Kind of hoping that some days with it can get the same happen, but
Yeah, I'm hoping the
right
same
now,
thing because
yeah.
I'm feeling the same way. You know, it'd be great to have like a Hick at Nunk meetup, or what happened in March meetup, or something like that. A couple places all over the world. Um, yeah, and so you got started minting, and did you kind of like immediately see some returns where people were like, starting to pick your stuff up? Was there a lot of trading going on? Like, what was your experience right off the bat?
Right at the beginning, I think the cat picture actually didn't sell at all. So decided to mint another one. And I guess the second one started to sell a little bit. I think it picked up like two or three collectors, something like that at the time. And I remember I had at the time tried myself with T Public and Redbubble,
Mm-hmm.
and neither of them really worked that well. But at the time, one of them did tell me that if you wanted to maximize your chance, you had to have a gallery of maybe like 25 article at the time. But
Yeah.
it was Redbubble or T Public, so it was completely different from the NFT games. But for some reason, I was like, yeah, let me try to have like 25 items on my gallery, and then we'll see what happened after that. And well, I guess at this point the pace was so high that a lot of things were getting picked up, whether I had like good marketing or not behind it.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, it was. I don't know if it was selling well or if it was just selling and I was uploading every day. It's a balance of those, I guess. But
Yeah.
it was a good reception for me because at the time, like I wasn't really that successful in either T Public or Redbubble. It was like if I had to compare, I think in total, in those t-shirt goodies kind of thing, I got probably $8 out of it, and like one of these dollars is from my friend because he got a mug from me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for Ekanunk and the Tezos community, I guess the first day it was already the same amount because someone bought something at probably two Tezos and it was already $10. So it was like,
Right. Right. Yeah. Now, with these characters, where are these? What's your process when you're making some of these characters? Because I remember on kind of an early Artcast scrolling, and I think it was, excuse me, Butterfly Warrior here that caught my eye. It was like so alien, um, and really cool. And that, again, that monochrome. I've talked a lot about how I love monochrome and black and white, and your pieces were so clean. Um, and you mentioned the gaming stuff. Do you kind of like make a story ahead of time, or do you just start scribbling and then uh yeah, what's that like for you with these?
um, I don't really plan anything to be honest. Like a lot of them, it's strong mishmash of all the influence that I got over time.
Yeah.
And like if you can tell that some of them they're a little bit symmetrical, and that's
Yeah, I
because
was just thinking that. I'm like, oh, yeah, go ahead, because that was just
yeah,
one thing I noticed. Like, there's a lot of symmetry in your work. So yeah.
it's like well, I at the time I started playing around with the symmetrical tool on pen tool Psi, and sometimes you just start with a shape and the shape doesn't really mean anything, and you just refine over time, and then you're like, oh, what if it's that kind of individual, and then you're like, oh, what if that individual had this kind of power? And then you're like, or maybe they have something on the left knee because it's damaged or something like that. And like for example, for Elemental, it was more or less me trying to create this representation of Gaia,
Yeah.
I think the Earth goddess or something like that, with an element of sci-fi. And there was also, since it was at the time for a very specific cause, I kind of broke the symmetry in some place where I would just add some damage to say that she was trying her hardest to heal herself, but like something was catching up to that, and you can see her helmet is a little bit broken on the right,
Yeah.
and like yeah, her leg is kind of like her entire body is a material that is not really organic, so feels more like rocks than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really cool. And that symmetry just adds to that kind of like drawing in your eye. Um, and you don't just work well with monochrome, you work really well with color too, like the shaman. This is a really beautiful piece.
Yes.
There's something like very um, like primitive and raw about it. But at the same time, like you mentioned, like having that sci-fi influence in it, in that other piece, and it feels similar here. It's really cool. I saw the it says uh, an Afro goth fashion you were discovering at the time that was very inspirational.
Yes.
And then so does fashion play into some of your inspiration a lot?
uh I would say yes, yes, a lot. I really like those poses. I know it doesn't really directly tie with fashion, but fashion photo shoot, they always have those very elegant or very specific type of poses that I really like when I'm scrolling through Pinterest and making mood boards and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a really big inspiration for me because like I really like nice pose, which is not really something you would see in the shamans. It's just her facing us, but also like yeah, I guess when I was seeing these Afro gods, it's something that really struck me because growing up in Africa, fashion is really specific to my country, I guess, or
Uh-huh.
very westernized. So it kind of got really predictable in my eyes, I guess, and people don't really try to stand out that much. They just either dress to show status or just dress to go to work.
Right.
Like seeing those kind of clothing that do neither and just really pop out, and you would just like you cannot walk outside dressed like that. You would just stand out, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Not
It kind of struck
a
me. It
lot of
was really
personality.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and then you've got another collection, the this costumes collectibles, the dystopian haute couture,
Yes.
which is really cool as well. Like, can you talk a little bit about this? Let me get the view all going. About this collection.
Yes. So I guess the idea at the time was I was always interested by profile picture projects, even though I don't really vibe with the entirety of it. But I guess the concept of having a really cool profile picture was something that was interesting to me. And when I designed them, I really wanted to have 24 unique looking characters. And At first, I started on OpenSea, so the first 12 are on a separate marketplace. But then I was like, I don't feel that comfortable because I am working with someone else on that collection, and
Uh-huh.
they pretty much handle all the social media side of it. And we
Okay.
were kind of trying to get an arrangement because he's more of an Ethereum person and I'm more of a Tezos one. So at first, we were kind of looking at
Oh,
OpenSea because we were thinking, well, this is the biggest marketplace, and let's just have a try in that.
yeah.
But after a while, I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm more comfortable with having my collection down on Tezos. And then I started to talk to my friend and was like, are you okay with us moving it and cutting it clean between like the first one had 12 character, let's cut it clean and have 12 character on the other side. And it was like, yeah, okay, let's do that. So that's why we started at 13 on Tezos.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So there's another half to this collection on OpenSea, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, these are super cool. Like I could definitely see these as characters in like sci-fi dystopian future. Like that's great. So this was a collaboration?
They were all made by me. It's just that my friend was helping me with the social media side of it because
Gotcha, gotcha.
I just can't really keep up with social media, to be honest. I already had one account. I was telling him, like, can you help me with this second one? Because I don't have time for both, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a beast to keep up with. It's like a second job in itself.
It really is.
And then let's see. And you started to mint some stuff on Versum
Yes.
as well. And Versum is a marketplace that just recently launched on Tezos. For anybody who hasn't visited yet, you definitely should. And this, a lot of vibrant color. So is that an intentional break from the monochrome, or is this kind of just happens to be what you've been working on?
Um, a little bit of both, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Because this collection on Versum, I called it attire. I don't really know if it's how you say attires.
Yeah,
And
yeah, attire, yeah.
yeah, and what I was trying with this one is, like, on one side you had the dystopian, futuristic looking profile picture, and on that hand I was like, let me just have something that is the complete opposite. And like one of them is black and white and dystopian and futuristic, and the other one is really colorful. And like the first piece doesn't really have a hint of fantasy, but all the other one really show you that it's getting like more and more on the less realistic side of things. And
Right, like this one looks like it's like underwater or something,
yes,
and
and then
she's
the
got
other
some
one.
like plus signs in her eyes. She's almost like a robot. I love this one too. It's like the Glenda the Witch almost. But like cowboy slash the witch from the bad witch from Wizard of Oz, like blended together. That's
Yeah,
great.
I really like how this ended.
And her finger smoking. That's great. Devilish. And that's a really cool pose as well on this one. And
Yeah,
the Jin that's it's what's a Jin?
it's a demon basically, but it got more ties with like African background slash
Yeah.
culture.
Like mischievous kind of, right? Like mischief
Usually,
maker,
it
like
would be
causing a little bit of trouble.
yeah, it would be the equivalent of a genie. Usually,
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, and this pose is great.
was really challenging because when you don't really see where the eyes are,
Mm-hmm.
Like I should have drawn the eyes first and then try and figure out how to complete it. But I made the pose and then well, I didn't really make the pose and I have a reference, but figuring out what was behind a hiding hand was kind of tricky.
Yeah, this last one is beautiful. Yeah,
Yes.
like you use color in just a great way. I don't know if that's coming from like, kind of monochrome simplicity and then adding color like sparingly, but yeah, it's great. It's a very like striking uses of color.
I think a lot of them is I would mm, try and choose the main color of the character and then just research what's the complementary color because
Yeah.
that's why yeah, that's how I made it the most striking, I guess. Like it was really fun for me to just decide that the skin color doesn't really matter that much in this collection since
Mm-hmm.
they can be fantastical being. So
Yeah.
like even with the cowboy, like she just become blue and I'm just like, why is she blue? And I'm like, I just want her to be blue. So
Yeah. Yeah. She's
and
blue.
there's
She's blue.
yeah, yeah, she's blue. There's just this signature block of black color that still use on each piece, and it's still me, I guess. It's like
Right. Yeah.
it's a strong, colorful part of my tool set, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is why
Absolutely.
I'm really excited about this collection. Like I already have other pieces. It just I mint them every Friday or so.
Okay. You kind of got a regular schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
These are great. This. Now, when you're, do you have kind of, do you ever get writer's block or art block where you're not sure what to do and have to break out of it?
these days, not as much as I used to, but there was definitely time where I got art block or just straight up hiatus. I
Right.
think if you count all of the 12 years that I've been drawing, sometimes there was 3 to 6 months where I couldn't draw at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, like even I think 2019, I was quite burnt out. So for like half or most of the year, I just didn't draw anything.
Right. And what
Yeah.
did you, what kind of broke you out of that, do you think,
Hmm.
when that happened? Was it like much needed rest and getting away from it that actually helped?
It's complicated because it's a little bit of everything. Like I do have a therapist because I do have depression,
Mm-hmm.
and meeting her have been helping, I guess. But it's also like doing whatever you can to like not stress about it, and 'cause it's not my main job as well. So sometimes I'm
Sure.
just really tired and couldn't do anything regardless.
Right, right. I hear you.
Yeah, and I guess the moment I fell out of it was when I started drawing a little bit more for myself and a little bit less for just because I used to draw a lot to just be like the moment you finish, you just show it to people and then hope for a reaction, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at some point, I just started drawing and not post it to like I just had one friend to whom I would just show whatever I drew, and that would be the only person that would see my art. And I just kept on drawing and doing that because it felt a little bit liberating to just draw for yourself, and it at that time the subject or the end result didn't matter. And
Right.
for quite a while, I was doing that, like doing those drawing where I would just explore the theme that I wanted to explore and just draw whatever I wanted to do. And that's what got me out of, I guess, this really long art block situation.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of pressure. I think once you start making stuff, even before kind of discovering NFTs and stuff, like with Instagram or again more social media stuff, it's like if you start doing something creative, you want people to see it, but at the same time, you also want, like you kind of said, like a reaction. You kind of want to know, like for me anyway, I want to know that like I'm doing good. Like am I going in the right direction? Like I I hear a lot of artists um and people talk about, finding a mentor being really important with, if you're learning something new. And I think that's probably the reason why uh like having some kind of person that you can bounce things off of and that can kind of like their sole purpose is to help you find your purpose. uh so it can be hard if you don't have that person in your life to help you or to at least bounce off of, because the world is that, and it's scary. And it turns into like I don't know if the coffee's getting to me and I'm starting to ramble, but uh just that, um like sometimes you don't have to share everything is the point I guess I'm making. Like
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes.
you should keep some things to yourself, and it's if you're sharing everything, you can start to question, like, who am I making it for, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so
Yes.
that's a good tip. Like I think for people who are maybe uh, struggling a little bit, is to make some stuff that's just for you.
Yeah. Sometimes it can also be like just if you're really stuck with not being able to draw, just draw something that sucks.
Right, right, yeah,
That would be my tip. It's just there's some days like for me, I'm trying these days to draw a little bit every day,
uh
but
huh,
there will be days where it's just not good, and I kind of accept that. Like I'll just make a drawing for 10 minutes, and it's just not good, and I save it anyway, and just move
right,
on. So I guess like it helps you a lot to not have pressure that every single item that you make become a masterpiece because it's not really possible, and you're gonna be real disappointed real fast if you expect yourself to always perform really well. I mean,
that's right, that's right. um well, I actually, so it's about that time. We've been on about an hour. I did want to. It, were we gonna? Did you have something that we could give away to the community? A piece, maybe. I don't know if I
give
asked
away.
about that.
Mm, not previously.
No worries, no worries. No, no. I have something. I'm gonna give out a little bit later. Um, But did you have anything else that you wanted to share, that maybe we didn't touch on, like any upcoming projects or anything you're excited about?
um, Not specifically. It's just this collection that you see right now. I'm just gonna work more on it and add more edition. There's a new one coming tomorrow, and
Oh, nice. What time can people expect that drop?
um, I think it's 9 p.m. HKT, so it will be. I don't know what's the equivalent because like right now it's 9 a.m. here, so it would be in 12 hours the next day, if it makes sense.
Okay, so it'll be like 5 a.m. here.
Probably. Oh, that's a
Okay.
terrible time.
I'm usually up. The older I get, the earlier I wake up. You know, I don't know what that's about, but pretty soon I'm going to be an old man on his porch eating cherries with a newspaper in my hand, and it's going to be 4 a.m. I'll be preparing oatmeal for myself too, and buying NFTs.
It's not so bad. It's not
Not
so
so bad.
bad.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad actually. Well, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. It's really good talking to you.
Thank you for having me. Really nice talking to you as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, we'll keep in touch. And yeah, please, I'm excited to see what you got going on tomorrow.
Yes. I'll be keeping you in touch, I guess.
All right, right on, man. Well, good to meet you, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out on this later edition of the Artcast, and I hope, I hope everything out in your world is great. Thank you, Chunky, for coming on and hanging out. And yeah, go check out his stuff and mint all of it. Get all of it. It's awesome. So, yeah, we'll see you next time. Next week, same day, different time. All right. See ya.